Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot, and we're going to talk about the downloaded messages that I've been getting connected to the Twin Flame Collective. And so before jumping in with this, guys, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for joining the membership side of Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot. It's much appreciated. I'm really excited to see where this membership side can take all of us on our spiritual journey of self-discovery and growth, especially when it comes to the twin flame connection and collective. And so I thought it would be really beneficial to share some of the downloads I've been getting. The Phoenix energy is very loud. I've been very connected to ancient Egypt, ancient mythology, connected to Greece. And so I got a major download earlier last week, and I wanted to jump on sooner. And as timing goes, everything really is divine timing. So when I'm talking about these energies, I want you to try to be the observer from a detached point of view, because we all have an inner masculine and we all have an inner feminine. And so be the observer and observe the messages and the energies as if I'm speaking to your inner masculine and your inner feminine. And usually this is played out externally within a twin flame connection, but this can also just be a mirror for your own inner transmutation that might be taking place at this time. And so we're in this gateway right now, collectively, in this profound passageway of Pluto, right? So Pluto is at the analytical 0 degrees. And so Pluto's going to go back retrograde into Capricorn, and we're going to be dancing with these anaretic degrees again once more this year. And so there's a great depth of resources available to us right now on the pathway of personal development. And so the masculine energy, I feel, is needing to go into this energy of hermit and justice. So Virgo and Libra energy, I feel a Genesis energy between the Virgo and the Libra points. And so that might work out to be like a Virgo 12th house, a Libra ascendant. It doesn't have to be, but you know, the Genesis is the beginning and the end. It's kind of like the infinite cycle of life, right? There really is no beginning or ending. It's just a continuous cycle of rebirth. And so the masculines, I feel, are in this passageway of Pluto right now, and a lot of the feminines are feeling this gateway of development for the masculines. There's a lot of abyss energy as the counterparts kind of dismantle all of these old beliefs, all of these old structures for this great awakening. And so we kind of have to dismantle all of our program beliefs from childhood, from our lineage. We have to kind of strip away all of these masks, these old identities. And it is a period of growth where we go through this profound introspection and purging. And so we can't recreate the new cellular structure for the new light body that we are activating and healing. We have to go into the depths of the well of emotions, right? And so manifestation, we have to combine our thoughts and our intentions with our emotions. We have to be up. Oh, 333, I noticed on the timer. I always feel an energy of like divine union when I see the 333. It's like the Empress energy on steroids is kind of how I see that energy. And so we kind of got to take it to the Godhead of Christ, though. And that's the energy of feeling the Godhead of Christ, feeling the collective pain of the age of Pisces. And it's a process of like being taken to your knees, right? And so that is like the energy I feel of the masculine. You need the masculine strength to go into the gateway and the depth of the well. And so that's where a lot of these spiritual resources reside, is in the bottoming out of the heart chakra activation. And so we don't recognize the insignificant cycles that we keep recreating until we go into that gateway and that Godhead of Christ. And that's where we tap into the abyss. And so collectively, Pluto and Jupiter are in a square right now at this very potent analytical degree. And so we're kind of dealing with the Aquarian Leo energy along with the Taurus and Scorpio energy. And so these are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, and they are also 444 on the timer, the 4 signs that carry the energy vibration of the world card of a completion of a cycle. And so how divine is that, right? And 444 is connected to the Emperor foundations. And so we are divinely protected as we go through this transmutation process. And so we are here to balance these patterns, and that's vital to the storehouse of information that we hold as part of our activation and mission. And so we got to recognize too what's practical, what's not practical. And so like the ego tends to want to hold on to the old, right? The ego likes to argue. It has a taste for trivia. The ego doesn't go into the instincts, right? The ego pushes the instincts and the intuition aside. And so we go through this very unsettling energy. And I feel this is where a majority of the divine masculine collective are at. In this very unsettling degeneracy state, like a degenerate state of confronting their deep shadows, their obsessions. I did notice this morning the moon is in Virgo conjunct Lilith in Virgo, and so there is a lot of deep shadows and obsessions being triggered, and we got to navigate these energies with a grounded approach. And so it requires courage, and it also requires surrender. And so I actually spent a bigger part of the morning surrendering to the purging process of these overwhelming emotions that kind of just took over me out of nowhere this morning. And then when I looked at the astrology, it kind of made sense as to what was happening. And so a lot of the feminines carry the awareness, right, of the energies, because we are awakened and we're in tune. And so right now I feel the masculine is awakening to these new forms, these new energies, these new spiritual truths, and where he has neglected his spiritual side, right? So I do feel there's this air of like inferiority being triggered. I feel there's anger, there's sacred rage coming to the surface as the old life kind of dismantles and deteriorates. And this is really taking a toll on the masculine's confidence. And so a lot of the masculines get misguided, right? They have spontaneous urges, and the feminine usually triggers some of their deepest, darkest shadows. And so they want to run from that. They don't want to face their shadows. And so they run as fast and as far away as they can, usually into like a karmic decadence of some sort, where they play into degenerate values, inferior values, and misguided harmony, right? It's actually a state of discord. And so this also creates a deeper sense of lack of confidence. And so I feel as all of this interference is coming into the masculine's awareness, it creates like this crossway of tension, arguments, tension, and the Pluto square Jupiter is really pushing for this tension to be activated, I feel. And so there's profound anxiety, I feel, coming up for the masculine, as all of this profound third eye, crown chakra, cosmic intelligence is remembered that was once forgotten. And so the feminine is also in this state, I feel, of balanced wilderness is kind of how it felt. And so this is also adding to the urgency to restructure. And so the divine feminine's patience is the biggest virtue of this journey, right? Because we have to go into the depth of the understanding of Christ consciousness when we get to that cross. And so it takes as long as it takes, right? And that is where we need to understand sometimes we have different journeys to walk, different timelines to walk before the union can come back together. And so there's the masculine's gotten a taste, I feel. He's recently maybe gotten a taste of what life could look like with you. And this is adding a deeper depth to this process, creating even more anxiety and triggers. And so I feel a lot of the feminines right now in the energies are being asked to trust in the cycles, to trust that there are endings that will be leading to new beginnings. So the masculine is kind of in a situation here, learning to see the patterns that need to be restructured. And that is a lesson that a lot of the divine feminines cannot teach the divine masculine. We are here to facilitate the teachings of unconditional love. And so we're not a karmic teacher for the masculine, even though there is karma there between us to be cleared. And so usually between counterparts, there is no abuse. There is no very heavy karmic energy between the counterparts. It's all of the other extended karma that kind of gets in, that overshadows the love and the connection. And so there's a lot of resistance, though. The masculines resist this restructuring process because they over speculate, and so they just like to resume life like this never happened. And so I think long term, this is leading to a lot of frustrations, because now I think a lot of the masculines are feeling restrained. There's a lack of self-fulfillment surrounding the masculine. And I do feel there's like an energy that is kind of overly reliant on the masculine, right? And they're overly needy for something from the masculine, whether it's protection or finances, or they just need constant attention. And so I feel there's like a social renewal taking place. And the masculine is obsessed right now with the details of talking to you, of coming forward. And so there's been like a lack of action, though, right? And that's due to the insecurities. A lot of these masculines mask their insecurities with their ego. And so they can't go into this connection with the feminine until they go into the depth of the ego. And that's where they fail to take action, because their biggest trigger is a fear of your rejection. And so I do feel they understand, or are understanding, the theme of giving and receiving. And this is part of this review right now, right? And so they're looking at the feminine, and they see the high value now that you hold, that maybe they didn't see it in the first place. They see that you are a giver. They see that you deserve to receive. And I feel they look at you, and you continue to give, you continue to shine, you continue to grow. And now they're in the depth of looking at, what they didn't see before, or even the potential of them, losing you to somebody that might value you before they come forward. And so I feel a lot of the feminines are going to be like the center of attention coming up. Here we are in an 8-year, which is like the rise of the divine feminine. And so I feel a lot of the masculines have overplayed the cycles of superficiality, and they're in this state of lack right now. They're lacking all of the inspirational qualities that the feminine holds. They know the feminine is here to help them transform, is what I feel. And it's like the feminine has this gift, right? there's this energy of like common currency with the feminine. There's always this equal exchange. I feel a lot of the feminines are really coming into their most authentic essence this year. And so the limitations always come when we are in states of superficiality, right? And that will always degenerate the quality of our potential possible skills and talents. And so it's the energy of an eye for an eye, is what it felt like. And so there's a lot being activated with this collective understanding of the twins, of the mission. There was a lot of merging of timelines and dimensions, and it was like this totality of kind of everything being pieced together for me in the energies. And in my third eye this morning, it was this very potent awareness of the twins being rooted in this deep instinctual like activation of the collective memory of the twins, is what it felt like. And so we are here to solve these problems for society. But the masculine needs to be able to transform and take action as well. So I feel they are working through the well of depth of looking at the world that we live in, what needs to be corrected, what needs to be expressed, what needs to be reorganized and restructured. And they're feeling and experiencing deep fears of inadequacy. And I think they're feeling that they won't be able to come forward to the feminine and fully explain their situation and the solution. I think there's massive periods of frustration playing out in the collective as this realization is washing over a lot of the masculines. And so it's just a very harsh energy of like the archer. The archer came through, which would be Sagittarius, of needing to bite through. It's like the masculine, he got hunted down, and so he's really got to find his spiritual strength, his spiritual will. It is the energy of justice, right? Justice. He's going to have to overcome this persistent karmic interference, whether it's a person, an addiction, a job, whatever it is that keeps the masculine from running and in the state of feeling like he's in power. because that's a very unfulfilling energy through the masculine, demanding control of everything around him and the environment around him. So I do feel Archangel Michael is really working with the masculine, creating this tension. Archangel Michael comes to expose the truth, and I feel like this is like a last warning for a lot of the masculines, this Pluto going back retrograde. And so this is like a final warning. It's time to clean this up. It's time to find your fierceness, your Leo fierceness, to take this recourse action to embrace the mission for the collective, right? And so it's like a warning plea too, I feel, from the universe right now. And so major themes of respect, I feel, are lessons that a lot of the masculines are learning right now, their legitimacy of their actions. And so a lot of them were very flagrant, and they didn't care who they hurt. And so there's a lot of powerful and extreme reactions, I feel, being projected upon the masculine. And I do feel it's triggering a lot of severe rage, a lot of severe sacred rage. And that is where the success does come from, right? We got to release the stuck rage at the root, at the base, where we hold all of that fear, where we lack security, where we lack emotional security. And we got to unleash that beast, right? We got to unleash the coiled snake from the base of the spine. And so we do feel there's a lot of spontaneous Kundalini activations. I do feel there's like a revelation of the rejection, right? And what it cost the masculine on the material plane. So the key is the masculine regrets not choosing sovereignty towards the feminine, choosing the feminine, going towards sovereignty. And so I think his ego is very uncomfortable with the severity of the awakening and the lessons that are coming forward right now. And so I just feel a lot of extreme reactions, a lot of extreme regret. There might be legalities that the masculine needs to close out and face, but this is kind of putting the masculine on that level playing field. It's like the 0 point, the bottoming out energy, the condemnant energy. Like I think a lot of the masculines might be feeling like they're condemned with all of this confrontation with the cosmic forces. And so I feel they're feeling very defeated. They are feeling very defeated. That was an energy that I was sitting in very strongly this morning, and I really usually don't go into those energies of defeat unless I'm being pulled back down with the masculine. And so I feel the masculine is in a state of some type of humiliation that he probably feels is not survivable, with the energy of like just wanting to die. And so I feel they've got to accept this, right? A lot of them, I feel, stay stuck in these karmic cycles through the abuse of drugs and alcohol. So that's kind of being shown right now, the abuse of drug and alcohol, because that's really affected their material path, and they got to break free, right? That's the ego having superiority over the masculine, but the masculine believing that he's in control when he's really not in control. And so I do feel a lot of the weighing out of the options is the Libra South Node, right? And eventually we just got to make a decision. And so the moon will be moving into Libra in a couple days, and I feel this is going to create the energy of needing to face opposing forces, because the moon in Libra will be opposed Chiron and Aries. And so that's another like shining a light on what the ego is trying to protect, to keep you stuck in these old cycles. And so a lot of the masculines misjudged the divine feminine. I think they misjudged their social circle, and now they feel like they're facing a lot of opponents that at one point in time they thought maybe were their friends. Now they're turning into foes. And so impartiality is the energy I feel the feminine needs to be in as the masculine goes through this legality or rebalancing of some sort, because there's a lot of chaos I feel about to ensue this week. This war of attrition was what I channeled. And so I do feel eventually, the masculine will get over all of this disorder. But I feel their ego is right out of touch with the collective mission right now. And so power can lead to great disorder if you're not coming from a place of benevolency, if you're not coming from a place of heart-centered, like the gateway cross of Christ. And so I feel the withdrawal, the hermit energy, that's what I felt too. I felt like I just don't even want to talk to anybody. And so a very withdrawn energy that would also be connected, I feel, to the Cancer, the crab, right? Going into the shell. withdrawal. And so we're restructuring our inner order, or a lot of the masculines are right now. And so you might be feeling a very chaotic energy playing out inside of you over the coming days when it comes to whatever chaotic situation the masculine is dealing with. And that's kind of how I know what's going on over there. It's like this inner chaos inside of me, just boom, out of nowhere. And so I think his life direction is chaotic right now. And he's just trying to find some inner peace right now amidst all of the chaos. And so I do feel a lot of the control issues are about money. A lot of the materialistic side of the masculine's journey, I feel he likes to be in control of the money. But I do feel this is also to help ensure the survival of the tribe. A lot of the masculines are to be the leaders, right? And so I just feel the masculine's carried a lot of baggage on his shoulder for a long time in secrecy, in silence. And it would really benefit him to release, right? To release the forceful resistance to this feeling, this gateway of feeling all of these emotions. I also feel there's a lot of sacral energy too at play. And so a lot of manifesting energy, right? And so it's also this energy too is manifestors. When we manifest something, we kind of have to inform before we attempt to exert control, right? And so we have to be honest with our manifestations, right? And we have to come from a position of integrity. So especially if we're going to oversee the collective wealth of the community moving forward, right? As we step into these new earth timelines. So I feel a lot of energy of like death and Ace of Cups surrounding the divine masculine. And something about going back maybe 6 years ago. Something about 2018, 6-7 years ago. For the divine feminine, I feel we're in this gateway of beginnings. And so we're transitioning from the obsessive part of the journey, and we've really embraced the change. And now we're restructuring our spiritual progression geared toward this steadfast endurance of maybe building something with our gifts, right? I feel that's where the feminines are at. And so the intensity that the masculine is feeling in the ending is creating this intensity for the feminine to start something new, I feel. Because a lot is falling away too for the divine feminine. And so the feminine, I feel, is being asked to just wait, be patient, wait for the clarity, wait for the signal, wait for the go. So the feminine, I feel, is in this state of accumulation of seeing things, accumulation of receiving downloads. And so as the masculine goes through the disillusion of the old, the feminine is retaining all of this information as part of this transformation. And so the pressure's on for the feminine, I feel, to begin something new, to build something, to build your legacy. And so the pressure's on for the feminine to build something, and maybe you have to build something from scratch. And so for me, I don't have to build something from scratch. I'm just restructuring the current foundation of the channel, but I'm building something new. So I feel this is really hampering the masculine's mood, his energies. I think, he's watching you rise, and he's overly self-critical. He's withdrawing even more and more. And I do feel he's finding it even more difficult to maybe step up and confront you. Because maybe of the criticism accompanied by the old cycle that he's still attached to, whether that's with a person, place, or thing. And so the momentum, I feel, is working for the feminine. The feminine is the creator, right? We come into the consciousness first. And so the more you lean into success and building, success breeds success, I feel, is a message for the divine feminine right now. So keep building, keep protecting, keep nurturing, keep further developing, keep further going towards your aspirations and your achievements at this time, divine feminine. I do feel there's pressure to just build something, to create harmony in your life, to just go about the spiritual side of the journey with a bit more practicality. I feel all of this Capricornian energy, we've got a Capricorn stellium, is really giving the feminine the material drive to push through, to face the challenges, like the goat, right? And we talked about the sea goat in a previous message. I can't remember which one. But I feel a lot of the feminines are getting a taste for success. And so we don't want to be too prudent with the action that we're taking. So there's a lot of impatience too, right? And we got to realize we all got to start at a 0 point sometimes, right? And so we all got to start somewhere when we build something new. So there's a lot of unconscious provoking, I feel, triggering internal conflict for the feminine too, to overcome any patterns of logic that are threatening this manifestation. So I feel there's a lot of personal conflict going on inside of the feminine as well when it comes to just staying true to yourself right now. I think that's key. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your path. Don't be swayed. I do feel there's a lot of complex, awkward situations that might be arising for the divine feminine, and you might be being asked to just maintain your spiritual strength at this time. So just keep building that secure foundation, going through spiritual development, spiritual growth. I feel 888 was another sync for the feminine, and the Queen of Swords, Knight of Swords energy was strong. So I feel you need to assert yourself beyond any survival fears. I know material fears have been coming up for a lot of the feminines, because it's like we get hit constantly with these persistent difficulties and towers, and we get put in these awkward situations, and a lot of us have overreactions with our emotions as all of these triggers boil to the surface. And so this could prove to be detrimental if we don't learn to balance our energies. And so I do feel the pressure for this new beginning too, for the masculine, is creating something awkward, or maybe something that the feminine is going to have to face that might feel embarrassing to overcome any self-worth issues. But I feel there's this underlying psychic recognition going on for the feminine. 2613, I find that fascinating. I was born on the 26th, and 13 is my path of destiny. And so if you look at Jesus, had 12 disciples, Jesus would have been 13, and all of them had partners would equal 26. I just felt the need to mention that. So I feel the feminine is really tapping into these underlying psychic recognitions and impressions, right? We are the one that holds the intricate value for the psychic development part of the twin flame connection. As we rise, the masculine rises. And so we have to go through periods of isolation, because our gifts do not give us direction until we create that direction, right? The feminine is the path. And so that is where our very power is held, within going into isolation, and releasing ourselves from any opposition, even those that we thought maybe were giving us continued support, who were actually foes appearing as friends. And so this is creating pressure for the feminine to recognize the value of developing her psychic gifts. And this also creates the energy for the new beginning. So regardless of whatever circumstances are going on, this is about you learning to applying your own inner divine masculine, phasing out an old cycle, and calling in new support processes, okay? And so a lot of us face opposition, and then we go into isolation. And this is where we strengthen our spiritual attitude, our spiritual gifts. And this is where we can attract some new forces, right? So I feel, don't hide your successes. I know I've been working with a couple divine feminines that have taken my tarot class, and I'm really trying to encourage them to start sharing their gifts. And it's difficult, right? It is not easy to put your face out there to share your gifts. You got to overcome your fears. You got to overcome your insecurities, and you just got to do it. And so we can't hide in the shadows. We're here to create the success. And so I feel there's a lot of perverse fears that we got to work through when it comes to sharing ourselves publicly. And so that also is a process of completion for the feminine too. So we're kind of like in the creative womb right now for a lot of the feminines. I feel we're in this channeling of spiritual maturation with our gifts. I just feel like we're working really well with the energy. We're creating a state of balanced development. And we've done a lot of work between the sacral and the root. And so I do feel the cyclical process is reaching completion for the feminine, is what it feels like. And so this will then create the conception for the masculine to complete. And so we have to trust in the cycles right now as well. A lot of us carry this divine feminine fuel or flame, 2911, I noticed, that is needed to begin something new. And so we hold the torch, we hold the flame, and I feel it's long overdue to course correct society and where we've been going. And so 999 was huge. The feminine has to find the drive to rise up, to complete these cycles, to wrap this up. And so this is where we have to master our commitment to our own energy. We have to learn to contain the energy after we initiate the cycle. We have to learn that time will have to come to pass, and we have to be able to see ourselves flower and open and ripen and flower into the most beautiful essence, right? And we're here to leave those seeds for the future, to share that divine feminine wisdom. So a lot of the feminine's role is to provide the energy to get the cycle ending, right? We have to choose to keep the cycle moving in a newer energy, a newer direction. And so I feel those that have avoided really stepping it up are definitely feeling the pull very strongly right now to go towards completing this cycle. Because the new beginning really takes headway when we release the resistance as well. So I feel we need to really stop and take a look at past disappointments, because I know I kind of cycled back into a state of depression in the energies this weekend. And so we got to really commit to this course correction. We got to really commit to doing things differently, right? So I do feel the disappointment, the depression, it allows us to realize where we're still seeking externally to complete ourselves somewhere. And so there's a lot of pressure being released as we kind of learn that experience in the moment right now, I feel. So I feel the feminines are here to step into being these influencers, right? Public influencers, social media influencers, and whatever it is, right? We have the ability to achieve influence, right? And that is what we are here to do. And so I feel we can no longer stay in the shadows, divine feminine. It's really time to help all of these socially misguided people out of the shadows, right? And back into the recognition of a healthy relationship cycle. In terms of like influence, I feel a lot of the feminines diminish their worth out of fear of putting their self out there. And so we receive a lot of wisdom in all of the relationships that we encounter within our lives. I often have people ask me, why do relationships come up in almost every reading? Well, relationships are a part of every aspect of our lives, especially the relationship with ourselves. And so any past interactions, that is what teaches us, right? And so we need to restrain from temptation right now, divine feminine. You might be tempted to go back into old patterns right now, but that will definitely hinder you finding your ambition to create. So we do also go into periods of separation on the journey for this covert interaction, for the telepathic covert interaction. And so this is also where we form the 5D higher union, and we use this secret form of communication to purely channel the information between the counterparts. This is also the only resort a lot of the divine feminines have of any communication with the divine masculine, but this is also part of the psychic impressions you are here to grow. So I feel the energy is insistent for the feminines who have resisted. It's time to become those formal channels. It's time to embrace being that formal channel. No matter how frustrating separation is, we overcome separation with mastering the power of attraction by becoming the moon and owning the gravitational pull instead of chasing the masculine. And so I feel the feminine too needs to understand we cannot have the constant contact. We do have the constant covert telepathic interaction, and this is also a process of enlightenment and endarkenment. We spiral, right? Sometimes we go into states of higher mystical energies and positions, and then we get exalted down into the detriment of the fall, and we have to feel all of this truth, and that is manifestation all in the same, right? The truth and the feelings, manifestation. And this is the energy of the blending of the alpha and the omega. And so it is the end and the beginning all at once, and it is the spiral. And so there really is no description possible for the experience of twin flame alchemy other than experiencing it yourself is the best way to describe it. So each twin flame union will manifest this energy uniquely, is what I want to say. And there's no guarantee of how all of this will be perceived. And this is why I choose to share my story of how I perceived it, right? And so we all perceive the awakening differently based on our own gifts and our own karma, right? And so all of this fuels the transformation, so we can both achieve states of being at that purest level where we're at the place of no polarity. And so it is a natural process of alchemy and ascension that we go through, and it does bring a fruitful relationship, but we also have to go through clearing relationships with others as part of this clearing, because it is so intricately intertwined when it comes to the cosmic karma that we're here to kind of unweb from. And so the feminine also has to step fully into her natural spiritual authority. And so there's this ingrained responsibility that the feminine carries first, I feel, in terms of maintaining the spiritual journey. And we're here to strip away all of the old identities, right? And we face a lot of restricting relationships, I feel. And then we also call in a lot of mutually beneficial relationships. And so we got to discern too who hinders us, who progresses us. And this is also a part of the expansive lessons that we go through as we instill into these higher states of consciousness. And we got to learn to not miss the counterpart and clear any negative attachments. And so we don't want to waste the energy being afforded with all of these cosmic transits pushing right now. So I feel a lot of the feminines are in a state of accepting death, and we got to accept the ending to recreate a new energy. We have to let the old die away to accept the new. And so this requires a purging, right? So a lot of the feminines are in a state of channeling these transformational energies, which is giving the feminine the drive to go forward, right? To provide her gifts towards humanity. So I feel a lot is transforming when it comes to the twin flame tribes, the material direction that we're going to be taking over the coming year, because a lot of us are here to restructure these energy supplies to recreate collective material wealth. And so a lot of us, are here to teach others how to rise up within the hierarchy, although in the spiritual realm, there is no higher up hierarchy. We are all equal. And so a lot of us are just learning to create a better position for ourselves in our physical life right now. The feminine just wants to be at that level playing field, right? We're not here to compete with others. I know I'm not here to compete with anybody. But I feel that the feminine is just really finding her abilities to go towards something new, I think, to create lasting value with your gifts, I feel. And so that is giving the feminine blind faith, I think, to move forward right now. So that's kind of what I had for an update, guys. I'm not going to pull cards into the energies. I really hope that helped you guys. I look forward to doing more of these as the downloads come in. I'm going to be sharing these bonus twin flame messages on the membership side. If you have any questions, if you think maybe booking a reading with me might help you understand the journey and the energies better, I would love to get that booked in for you. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks.